Welcome back to First Things First. Look who's here. FS1 NBA analyst Chris Broussard.
Great to be here. Happy holidays, everybody. I know, too long.
Hey, man, I got beef,
I was starting to wonder.
I got beef with people, man.
Here we go.
Man, when Fox, they called back Chris Broussard, they were thinking about having an NBA guy. Chris, what do you think? Absolutely, man. That's my guy. You got to bring him over. When was the last time you've been on that show?
We see him once every 4 months.
Months.
I mean,
let's put it out there now. I'd love to be on every 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, Broussard might even own some property in the area. Might even have some family in the area.
I got to do something.
Come on, Skip and Shannon. Let us have some Chris
Now that we got that beef out of the way.
Share the wealth, man.
Here's why you're here. Let's get some insight. Let's talk about last night's big game. LeBron James and the Lakers in Golden State to face the Warriors. Pick this up in the third quarter. Lakers up 14 points when LeBron slips. He hurts his groin, usually shrugs off these types of injuries, but this one was a little more serious. Overheard telling a trainer he felt a pop. He would head into the locker room and he would not return. He's scheduled to have an MRI later today. He did finish with 17 points, 13 boards, and 5 assists in the time that he was in. Warriors start to go on a run. Andre Iguodala finds KD for the dunk. That cuts the lead to 3. Lakers could have crumbled at that point, but they did not. Lance Stevenson hitting the shot at the buzzer, finishing it off with a little shimmy dance celebration. Fourth quarter now. There it is. Rondo to Ivica Zubac. Never going to get it. With the dunk, putting the Lakers up 18. Warriors clear. Went big. 127-101 was your final. As for LeBron James, here's what he had to say about the game and his injury.
For me, with injuries, I'm never too concerned about them. You know, I was able to walk off on my own power. You know, I felt the pop and, you know, see if I could stretch it a few times to see if it'll relieve, but it didn't. That's pretty rare for me to have an injury, period. I don't know, you know, just it happens, and, you know, we got a great medical staff here. I got a great trainer, and we get to it.
All right, Chris Broussard, if you take LeBron's injury out of it, if you can, how impressive was this Lakers win last night?
It was wildly impressive. I mean, now, let me say this. In 2016, when the Cavs beat the Warriors in the finals, the Warriors beat them by 34 in the regular season. So you just
got David Blatt fired.
Right, exactly.
Got David Blatt fired the next day.
So stuff happens in the regular season. I don't want to make too much out of this, but it was impressive. I think the two most impressive things were, one, the poise that they showed without LeBron.
Yeah, when they got it back down to 2.
Yes, everybody must have been thinking, okay, Golden State's about to run away with this. But Lakers then answered with a big run. I think it was 22-7 to over the next like 5 minutes. Rondo was the key. And it was playoff Rondo yesterday. And you saw that's why they brought him in. When LeBron and Magic and Pelinka and all these guys put this team together, they thought, let's get some more playmakers. Let's get some toughness. And that's what Rondo brings, and he showed that yesterday. The second thing that really impressed me was Zubac. And it wasn't just yesterday, what, 18 and
3
10?
games in a row.
Right.
They have a problem, which I don't consider it to be a problem. It's a good one. They got to make a decision as far as they big man, because he deserves to be on the court some minutes.
He's the best offense. At least he's shown that the last 3 games.
Yes.
He's the best offensive player of the 3. And I think McGee has to play. And Chandler, you want his leadership. You want his
rebounding
savvy,
too.
right?
Because the Lakers have been terrible this year when they've been out rebounded. And you need Chandler's. Pardon me, you also need Chandler's basically basketball IQ late in games, which is why McGee hadn't been out.
And I think you made a great point about Rondo when you start to think about, well, why would they need him? He's limited as an offensive player, but he knows how to run the half court, and he knows how to run a team. He knows the sets of the other teams, let alone your sets. So he knows the best plays, the best spots to be able to get the shooters in. So when you think of Rondo, you're like, wow, so we're going to be better on the offensive end because of his brain. Now, the mental toughness, people think, well, how important is that? when you got the Lakers hard charging you at Oracle with and their big stars have not played well, you know they got 2 runs left in them. So that right there is the mental toughness that they thought they were getting with Lance in the highlight, that big knockdown to end the 3rd quarter. Rondo, those 7 points to start the 4th quarter and running that offense and getting Zubac and others in a good spot to be able to score. That's what Magic and Pelinka and them had in mind, seeing that play out with LeBron in the locker room.
And you mentioned playoff Rondo. Rondo's one of the few guys on this team that can handle a playoff environment. LeBron, obviously. We know Rondo brings his game to another level. Lance, for good or for bad, is always basically the same guy. I don't think he knows, he plays the same speed, the same way, no matter what. But I don't think it's hyperbole to say for Kuzma, Zubac, Ball, Ingram, Josh Hart yesterday was the biggest game of their NBA career. They've never played anything close to a playoff game. They've never played a meaningful late season game. National television, Christmas Day, defending champs on the road. And none of them look like the moment was too big for them. Now, that doesn't mean they'll play to that level in the postseason. But that was a nice little preview that these guys can raise their game a level when needed.
And a lot of confidence for them, too. They can do it without LeBron James all the time. They don't always have to rely on him. Speaking of which, how concerned are you with what you saw from LeBron yesterday?
I'm not concerned. I mean, I guess the only reason somebody might be concerned is you say, wow, it's his 16th season. Do these, these are the types of injuries you start to see with
why are they getting an MRI if they're not concerned? If he's not hurting that much, there's no need. MRIs are expensive. And typically training staffs, the minor injuries and strains, they don't get an MRI on, so they decide to get an MRI. So that right there gives me a little bit of a concern.
And I don't think it'd be the worst thing if he's out a week or 2 even, because I think that gives these players time to build confidence in themselves. Yesterday was a big confidence boost without LeBron. If they could play well over a week or 2 without LeBron, Kuzma, Josh Hart, even Lonzo, he didn't shoot it well yesterday, but I liked his aggressiveness. Then I think that would not only build their confidence, but it would maybe build LeBron's confidence in them. And that could end up working out for them if he's out for a week or 2.
The one thing I talked about earlier was that LeBron at this stage, I've been covering sports long enough to realize that in basketball, guys age at different speeds, different rates. Smaller guys, they burn out a lot quicker. Their inability, when they lose their legs, they lose their jump shot, they lose their ability to be able to handle, be able to get past people, and then, of course, they're finished as far as trying to get to the rim, something they were always challenged. Big guys, really, really big guys, where they have weight problems, feet problems, or knee problems, getting up and down the court, their inability to be able to keep their weight at a reasonable, typically that affects them, and or knee problems. Now, guys who are wing players, typically, man, their bodies just fail them. They just run out of gas. Michael Jordan ran out of gas. Kobe Bryant, they just ran out of gas. But LeBron, he's different. So you have to be able to chart, because you can see when Michael went to Washington, he was different. You can see Kobe in those last 4 years, he was different. So what I'm worrying is, since he's gotten to the Lakers, I'm just going to chart how many games he missed, the types of injuries he has, because I know it's going to end at some point. And I just think it's going to be in a Lakers uniform. I just believe it's the responsible way to go about looking at one of the greatest players, because his longevity, his consistency. I told Nick, you must start the conversation. If you talk about the GOAT, you better start that with LeBron. Because if you were Jordan, they talk about the 6-0, never getting to game 7. With LeBron, if you're presenting him, you better present his longevity, his consistency as element number 1.
We were actually literally talking about this last week, that LeBron's durability and availability might be the top thing on his resume line, or at least very near it. So if the news this morning was LeBron James tore his groin last night, then we would be talking about whether we'd be talking about it or not. The reality would be, then last night could have been the last game LeBron ever plays as the best player in the world. Like, Kobe is still in the discussion. One of the best players popped his Achilles, never recovered from it. Karl Malone, who had been the most durable player in NBA history until LeBron, got hurt late in his time with the Lakers that last year and just retired. Like, Malone was still a really good player, got hurt once and retired. Like, we will know, like, now maybe LeBron will somehow be able to stave it off forever and just retire when he retires. But that's what Chris Cole called me during the commercial break. I thought LeBron had just taken a knee to the groin, and it was that type of injury where you'd lose your breath for a moment and be okay. Chris said, man, I think he hurt his groin, the muscle. And then I saw he wasn't on the sideline. I didn't even have the volume on the game. I turned it on. I'm like, oh. And they show the replay, and then you see LeBron mouth, I felt a pop. Right. And for a moment, you're like, oh, this could be an enormous moment. LeBron's mood after the game, according to the reporters in the locker room, and his tweets after the game that we all saw speak to me that he thinks he's
casual,
fine.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned in that regard.
The best people, the best athletes, the best healers, they don't think they're ever going to get hurt. They always think they're going to get well. So don't be fooled by LeBron, what he said after the game, because not to compare myself, but people who are like that, Jerry Rice, who was like that, Peyton Manning, who was like that, Brett Favre, who was like that, they all thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be okay. And their positive energy and their positive thoughts have propelled them to doing great things. So for me, it wasn't lost on me that was his attitude. That's the attitude that's carrying him to having one of the longest streaks of greatness that we've ever seen in sports.
And you know how it works. A lot of players at the end of their career, when they retire, it's not that they can't have great games, great weeks, great a month. Like Wade can go out and for a week look like old Dwayne Wade.
The whole season.
You just can't do it consistently. I don't think this is the beginning of that for LeBron, but 2 years ago, would this have, this injury?
Well, David Griffin told me a great story from LeBron's first year with the Lakers in the series against Chicago, where they're down 2-1 in the series. It's the game LeBron ends up hitting the shot in the corner to win the game. That LeBron turns his ankle to where the ankle hits the ground. He saw it, he heard it. And they goes to the locker room, LeBron goes to the locker room, David Griffin, the GM of the Cavs, goes and asks the trainer, is he okay? And the trainer said, does he have any choice? Meaning like LeBron was at a place in that moment where doesn't matter if I'm okay or not, I have to get back out there. I don't think LeBron, if he needed to be back out there last night, could have been. Like the way he walked off the court, I don't know that he could have gotten back out there. That is part of the aging process these guys are talking about.
All right, Chris, stick around. Take a break. Coming up, can James Harden turn the Rockets season around? That's next on First Things First.